Okay, it's KB here, King Gnosis, aka the best kept secret. Let me just tell you guys what I bring to the table, because some people around me might be kind of like pushing this to the side, right? And I don't know, sometimes I'm mental, but nobody around me brings as much as I bring to the table. No one should be in charge of me. I'm talking about in my immediate circle. Okay. Nobody should be in charge of me. Nobody should be making decisions. I'm the best manager of that group. Period. I've owned businesses. Addiction has always taken things away from me. Okay. So my only struggle was addiction, right? A little bit of depression. Well, anyway, with that said, I want to tell you what I bring to the table. Okay. As far as an organization's concerned, a business, whatever. Okay. I bring a lot of things. First of all, I bring a story, a real life story. Okay, struggling, addiction, prison, shot, all kinds of stuff. Okay, and I might get goofy in a song from time to time, like I might dress up some things that aren't true, little white lies, but or talk about a house I don't have yet, or cars that I don't even have. I'm just talking smack, right? So that's what you'll get from me on that side of things. I also bring life experience. I bring a message of recovery. I bring a message of God. I bring realness. I bring a background of business, okay, in certain fields, right? Sales mostly, okay, service businesses, selling, right? I have a knowledge of all that. So we'll start with things I just kind of know off the top of my head. We admitted that we were powerless over drugs and alcohol, and our lives have become unmanageable. There's two parts to that step. Step one of the Alcoholics Anonymous 12 steps, or Narcotics Anonymous, or CA, or MA, whatever A to save your A, right? Okay, so we admitted we were powerless, okay, over drugs and alcohol, and our lives, or drugs or alcohol, and our lives have become unmanageable. There's two parts to that step. There's the mental obsession. Everything starts with a thought. Sin. It says, sin fully conceived gives birth to death. So everything starts with a thought. If that big booty girl comes walking by and we got a problem with our promiscuity, right? We're promiscuous and we're married, or we're in a relationship, or we know that sex leads to distraction. If I have sex with a girl too early or whatnot, right? It might lead to a distraction. It might ultimately lead to my death, right? And so everything in life that's bad for us starts with a thought, but we get it from the environment. Okay, so it comes into our mind. Boom. It starts to manifest. We start to obsess over it, right? What makes us an alcoholic or an addict is our physical reaction to drugs. They call it a physical allergy, the manifestation of a physical allergy, okay? So we take that in. Well, for an addict or alcoholic, but for a non-addict or alcoholic, they can't seem to wrap their mind as a whole collectively around the fact that we can't stop, okay? But it's our reaction. It's our physical reaction. That's not the amount of money, the amount of time we spent using, the amount of drugs or alcohol we use that makes us an addict or alcoholic. It is our reaction physically to it. We can't stop. We're off to the races. We can't stop at one or two and get in the car and drive. We can't go to a social gathering and smoke a little weed or do some cocaine and just stop and go back to work on Monday. We can't. Some can, right? And so that's the two parts of the disease. Once you give in to the thought, and you make it physical, you turn it into an action, we activate the allergy. It's shut off until then, okay? Signs of unmanageability. It says, we admitted we are powerless over drugs and alcohol, and our lives have become unmanageable, right? Unmanageability can start on a small scale and go all the way deep, off the deep end, into a large scale of unmanageability. Signs of small unmanageability would be, I'm late to work. I'm waking up late. I'm not functioning in my daily life. It's no longer stable, right? But I'm still maintaining. Some people call it a functioning addict or alcoholic. No such thing, right? It's a progressive and incurable disease. It will always get worse. It'll never get better until you practice abstinence one day at a time, they say. Step two, first two steps, they're decisions of the heart. No action required. You make a decision. I'm going to admit I'm powerless and my life became unmanageable. Two, I came to believe. Something brought me to that belief. I came to believe in a power greater than me, God, whatever your higher power is. It could be the group of recovering addicts at first. That's a power greater than you. Came to believe in a power greater than myself that could restore me back to sanity. What's sanity? Soundness of mind. What's insanity? An unsound mind, right? We were insane for so long to think that I could keep doing that and expect different results, simply put, right? I could keep doing that drug or alcohol and expect to get different results. It was going to be different this time. The biggest obsession you're going to have in your mind is that one day I'm going to gain control over this, but you never do. It says that delusion needs to be smashed. Step 3, first step towards action. Made a decision to turn our will. What's our will? It's trying to, it affects your future tense. But in other words, to simplify it, what I like to use, made a decision to turn our will. What's our will? Our thoughts. Okay? The thoughts we have for our future, maybe. Right? We turn that over to God. It says, made a decision to turn our will and our lives. What's our lives? Our actions. Our will, our thoughts. Our lives, our actions. Over to God as we understood him. Okay? However you understand God or the Creator or whatever power is that you feel is greater than you and that you accept in your life. So made a decision to turn your will and your life over to the care of God as we understood him. Number 4, you're going to take an inventory. It says that any business that doesn't take regular stock over their inventory to get rid of their liabilities and keep their assets goes broke. Okay? So made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. So we're going to write down our fears, our resentments, the harm we've done to others, our sex inventory if we need to. Okay, we write down that. We put that on paper as if we're not going to share it. But guess what? In step 5, it said, made a decision, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, admitted to God and to ourselves and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. This happens, all the steps come from the Bible. This happens to come from the book of James. Confess our sins to each other so we can be healed, right? So, admitted to God, that's the easy part, and to ourselves, that's the easy part, nobody hears that, and to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. So you get someone you can confide in that's just there to listen, soak it up so you can get that garbage out of you. All right, 6 and 7 is your quiet time with God. They did these all in one night, one day if they could, as fast as the addict or alcoholic was ready. Back in the day when they first started this kind of thing, they put the addicts or alcoholics through the steps in 24 hours if time permitted it, if their schedule permitted it, as soon as they could, as soon as they were ready. Who are we to say they're ready or not? If they say, yeah, let's do this, I want relief, you go for it. Why? Because you don't want to give the chance for alcoholism or addiction to kill them further, to take their life, To use is to die for us, okay? So share your inventory with God, yourself, and another human being, the exact nature of your wrongs, right? 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. Okay, so now we're entirely ready. God, I'm still going to come up short. I'm still going to, I see these character defects. I wrote them down. I naturally read them back to myself. Now I delivered them to another human being when I gave my 5th step. Now I'm asking you, remove these defects of character. Remove my selfishness, my self-centeredness, my fear, my unhonesty. Move those things. From my lack of faith, remove those from me. Those are my character defects. 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. Similar to 6, it's just our quiet time with God. Hey, God, I realize I'm going to come up short. Everyone does, to your glory. Whatever your creator is, whatever your higher power is, hey, I'm going to come up short. Most people's higher powers want the best for them, right? They do. And so, however, we're going to come up short. All right. 8, made a list of all people we had harmed, and become willing to make amends to them all. Keyword, become willing, right? We might not ever get to all of our amends because those people aren't in our lives anymore. We don't know where to find them. We don't go out of our way, but when the opportunity presents itself, back in the day, they used to write letters, they used to knock on doors, right? And so modern day, we could write a letter, shoot a text, make a phone call. It says, made a list of all people we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. All right. 9, made direct amends whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Okay. So this is when you're going to take the action for an amends. But if it's going to injure them, let me give you a kind of a good example. Okay. So let's say you robbed your neighbor because you're on heroin or crack. Right? You knock on that door. This is your neighbor. Hey, Joe. About 4 months back, yeah, you were broken into. Yeah. and a lot of things were taken, right? And it was never solved. Well, that was me. I was on drugs, and I saw you leaving back and forth to work, and I came in here and I took them so I could obtain drugs. I'm clean now, but I just want to tell you that because I'm sorry. All right. Well, I'm glad you're sober, and well, further than that, I would like to try and pay you back for those items. Now I don't have it all right now, but if we can, I'd like to make payments to you. All right, that's cool. Boom. Conversation ends. He shuts the door. Now he's scared to death to live next to you. And you might go to jail. So it's going to injure him further. He's scared to live with you. And he might go to jail. He might turn you in. Okay? Might be a poor example. Nonetheless, you injured him. Now he sold his house. Now he moves out of the neighborhood he's been living in for 10, 15 years. Because of you. You injured him further. You already robbed him. And now you told him the truth, and now he's scared to live next to you, so he moves out. Right? He's got a relationship in the community, he moves out. Right? You injured him further. Or you've cheated on your wife, and she wants to know all the specifics. Every girl, whatever, every woman, whatever. It's going to hurt her more. It should go something like this. Hey, honey, I know what I did was wrong, but I don't want to hurt you further. And so I don't think it's a good idea. And I love you. And just know that it's not going to happen again. Something like that. You don't want to injure them further. 10, 11, and 12 are your growth and spiritual maintenance steps. Okay, so you got step 10. Continue to take personal inventory, and when wrong, promptly admit it. A lot of people get this one mistaken. It's really a spot check. It's in the moment. Check yourself before you wreck yourself kind of thing. Okay, so in the moment, if I get angry, if I get selfish, if I get any kind of feeling negative, right? That's negative. I am going to try and check it in the spot. If I lash out at somebody, I'm going to try to apologize immediately. Why? Because it turns into a resentment. It could be turning for a resentment for that person or for me. And you could rent space in your mind, which could ultimately set you down the path of getting high again. Okay? So 11 is sought through prayer and meditation. We're going to seek through prayer, conversation with a higher power, and meditation, which simply means focused thinking. So you're going to focus on something healthy for your life. It doesn't have to be the Bible. It can be AA, NA literature. It can be a devotional. It can be something healthy, positive, a self-help book for your life, right? So we're going to seek through prayer, conversation with God. That's probably the best one, with a higher power, or with the voice inside, as I like to call it, right? We're going to just sit and we're going to have prayer. Here's a good thing for a faith increased. To increase your faith, exercise for that would be to write down your prayers, okay? Write down, pray for others, pray for changing yourself, pray for something you might need, a necessity, Hey, God, I'm unemployed. Send me the right job. Send me, help me get on my feet. I'm going to do my part. Help me get on my feet. Write that down, right? And then just sit back and watch. Okay, pray for the sick loved one. Pray for help to change something in you. Write it down, and just making that a living amends is sometimes the best amends at the beginning of anything you're struggling with, right? So, by living differently, by starting to realize and being spiritually aware of when you are going to fall, when you do fall short, and admit it in a moment, so you don't carry it with you. And that's the first amends you can make to anyone you hurt, is living differently. It's called a living amends. So we're going to seek through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for the knowledge of his will or thoughts and the power to carry it out. Okay, that's step 11. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to practice these principles and carry them into all of our affairs. Right? So we've had this spiritual awakening. Why? Because we took this process of the steps to get healthier, to make a decision to admit we were powerless over whatever was bothering us. Maybe it was a loss. Maybe it was divorce, not addiction or alcoholism, but you can plug it into the steps. Then we came to believe in something greater than ourselves that could restore us, because we were insane for so long, thinking we could do this alone, thinking that we could overcome this, thinking that we could use successfully, thinking we didn't need to go to counseling for our divorce or for the loved one we lost. Right? And 3, we made a decision. Turn it over to God. Our thoughts, our actions. 4, we did an inventory. 5, we shared the inventory. 6, 7, we had quiet time with God, asked him to remove our character defects and our shortcomings. 8, 9, we made amends. We made a list of it. 10, 11, and 12, we start to maintenance our spirit. Having had a spiritual awakening, 12 is this. Having had a spiritual awakening, as a result of these steps, we try to carry these principles. We try to practice these principles and carry them into all of our affairs. That might not be verbatim, but it's been a minute since I've taught this kind of thing, okay? So you've had this spiritual awakening, right? And now you try to practice all these principles in all your affairs, not just when you go to counseling, not when you go to group, not when you're with specific people that you're trying to look good in front of, but in all your affairs. Integrity, right? When you're in the line, somebody cuts you off. When you're in traffic and you're getting that road rage, we practice it everywhere, okay? The 3 key principles, I think, with anything in life, start with these, and AA lists them. The acronym HOW: honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. First one is willingness. It unlocks the door to honesty and open-mindedness. If you're willing to change, okay, you have to have willingness before anything in life. You have to be willing to do something, to change, whatever. That unlocks the door to being honest, first with yourself, that you do have a problem, that you need change, and open-mindedness. Open-minded enough to take suggestions from people that might have walked that path. A lot of people don't want to go see a counselor, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't see a therapist or go to group with people that haven't gone through similar things. You might say, well, I'm different than that group. But if you listen carefully, you're more similar than you are different. Okay, so if I'm going to see a therapist, and this is kind of a known fact, but there's statistics on it. You want to go to a therapist that shares a common interest with you. Why? So there can be a common bond formed. AA is built on, and I believe the body of God is also built on this, it is a kinship of common illness. Okay? Or it could be a kinship of common faith. And we're not talking about religious or a system of beliefs. We're talking about a faith in God. Something created us. That would be like church, one body, right? All of us should be one body, believing in God, the creator, right? Whatever created us. And so that's how we should love each other. That's another subject. But AA, in any group setting you're going to go, is based on psychotherapy, aka talk therapy. We're going to talk about our problems, get that garbage out of us, confess your sins to each other so you can be healed and pray for each other, right? And so it's based on a kinship of common illness. You'll see cancer houses. I think they're put together by St. Jude. Nonetheless, they base what they do in their hospitals on the same thing, right? But they have these houses where elderly are dying of cancer, and they got rooms. It's like a boarding house, and there's workers in there. There's nurses. There's cooks. There's chefs. There's activities. Anywhere, families come and they stay with them for their last week's days of life. And it's based on a common kinship of illness. The patients that are there, they share an illness, right? They form a kinship. And then the families come in and bond with other families. So it unites people. And that's the same thing AA is built on, and it's governed by God. So that's just a little piece of what I know about recovery. That's the steps. It's the most effective thing known to have worked on men and women on earth. Okay. Then there's how we were created: mentally, physically, spiritually, relationally. Okay. This might be a long video, but we were created mentally. Okay. It said Jesus grew, we grew in stature. That's physically. I'm going to start with the different one, but Jesus grew in stature, we grew in stature. We got older, taller, bigger, stronger. We were created physically. It says Jesus, or us, we grew in wisdom. That's mental. We learned. We got a computer up here. I forgot what it's capable of holding, but it's a huge computer, right? So we grew in wisdom. We grew in favor with God, our creator. Why? Because maybe we asked for help. Maybe we grew up rough and we were crying out to God, right? And we grew in favor and had a relationship with God that's spiritually. Some of us don't have that, but you need that. It's the most important one. That's what gave you life. That's what gave you breath. Spirit means breath. We grew in favor of other men and women. Why? Because they saw our example. They saw how we love people. We loved unconditionally. Some of us, not all of us. That's relationally. If we grew in favor with people around us, it's relationally, right? And I'll tell you how the world negatively affects this. If I take in something from the world that ain't good for me, whatever it is, I put it into action, it becomes physical. First it's mental, then it becomes physical. Then if I'm not careful, it gets down into my spirit life. And it can kill me, right? The spirit fights it out. It's in a battle with it. That's when we get angry. I don't want to be doing this, but we're not admitting it. We're bitter. So where's it go? Well, spirit's incapable of accepting it. It won't ever accept it. It'll be raging inside, fighting off the world when it seeps down into you. And so it spews out onto our relationships. That's how that whole process can be affected negatively, right? In a negative way. Let's go to another subject I know a lot about that I could teach. Sales. All right, 5 steps to a sale. This goes for anything. You can use this for anything in life. Just plug in. 5 steps to a sale. Introduction, short story, product, price, close them. Okay? That's for sales. Now, let's say you're in an interview for a job. You're still going to start with the introduction, give them a short story, product, price, close them. Product is going to be you, what you have to offer, your qualifications, your experience. Your price, you would plug in what you'll work for, right? What you want to make, what you think you're worth, the least to the max maybe. And then close them in an interview process would be in a sales situation, you would be asking yes questions. For instance, you're not going to say, if I'm selling sheet sets door to door, business to business, I'm not going to say, hey, do you need any sheets on your bed? They're going to be like, no, I got a whole closet full of sheets. You're going to say, that's a yes/no question. They're going to answer yes or no. You give them a question that they have to answer yes to. What color is your bedroom set? They got to answer that. If they don't, you know they're not a buyer, you know. And so, what color is your bedroom set? Oh, it's kind of like a teal and pink. My girl did it, man. All right, what size is your bed? Well, we really don't. What size is your bed? Well, I think it's a king, like a California king. All right, I'll be right back. Pew, shoot out there. Bring it in. Now you're getting product in hand. It gives them a sense of possession. Within 30 seconds, you let them fondle it, play with it. If it's an action item that has some action, let's say it's a stun gun or something, you let them, say it's a remote control car, you let them play with it. In under 30 seconds, take it back. Why? It's psychology. You gave them a sense of possession. The only way for them to get that back in their hands is for them to purchase it from you. That's it. They owned it for 30 seconds. You give it back. You take it back. They lost that sense of possession. There's 3 reasons why people buy in this world if you're in sales. There's positive association, fear of loss, and greed. Okay? Positive association is this. If I walk into a barbershop, whatever, I'm selling. Everybody tells me no. The second to last girl, she's like, well, let me see what you got. My baby likes children's books. Okay, I got this Disney book, colored encyclopedia. It's normally all color, nice photographs. It's got brief descriptions on all the animals. It's soft cover, so they don't hurt themselves when they're going through it or if it drops on them. Soft, smushy, soft cover. It's beautiful. It's made by Disney. It's $24.99 in the stores. I got it today for $10. But for every one of these you purchase, you get this, boom. You get this jumbo 6-page puzzle set, Scooby-Doo, right? And you buy the Disney book, you get this $15 value for free. That's it, right? And so she buys. Well, that's positive association. Hold on. So you close the sale on that, get your money, boom, put it in your pocket. Now, oh boy, at the barber chair says, well, let me see what you got. What else you got in there? Since she bought, it gave the okay for him to buy. That's positive association. Fear of loss is, if you're in sales, fear of loss is created by the salesman, okay? Well, can you come up back Friday? Well, I work an hour and away. We just picked here to work today. We're only going to be here today. So, and I only got like 6 of these sets left. So they'll probably be gone within a half hour, as soon as I hit the strip here. They're gone. I've sold 45. You could be lying, whatever. Right? You throw the fear of loss on them that they're not going to get this deal. You have to get it now. Well, I take borrowed money. Why don't you borrow them $10? I'll pay you back Friday. You got it? Right? And so the third one is greed factor. It's just a greedy person. Pushes everybody through. You ever seen the one at the barbershop when they throw the big bag of all the stuff from the dollar store on the floor, and toothpaste, deodorant, soaps, everything's in there. Anything for $1 or 2 for $1, right? Well, somebody comes with a 20 and picks out 20 items. They push through everybody. Everybody's down there picking, and they're just greedy. It's greed. It's the greed factor. Okay. There's a lot more to sales. Here's a little tip. If you're in direct sales, there's indirect and there's direct sales. Indirect is the car salesman that's waiting on somebody to come. Indirect sales is the car salesman that's waiting on the lot for somebody to pull in to buy a car. Okay, that's an indirect sale, right? They got to come to you. You're relying on foot traffic, right? You got a location. Direct sales is going out there and creating the amount of doors you're going to see. Let's say I'm running through 100 doors today. That's a direct sale. I'm going to knock 100 doors, direct in your face. But that's the hardest sale. You have to create impulse. They don't know you're coming. And when you get there, they don't want you there. They don't need what you got. They're already shaking their head through the door. Eye contact is a big deal, okay? When you're in direct sales, if you're going business to business sales, specifically, you don't want to make contact. You don't want to make eye contact with anybody. When you enter a large room in sales and you have potential buyers in there, get to the spot in the room where you're going to feel comfortable and go into your pitch. Then you look up at eyes, okay? Because they're already all saying no. If somebody looks up at you, makes eye contact, that's a buying signal. Now you start pitching them directly, making eye contact ever so often, right? Another one is if I am on my feet and I am presenting you with something to buy or a service of mine, I'm not going to come directly up on you. I'm not going to direct on you. Okay? Why? It's intimidating. I'm never going to use 2 salesmen on one person. I'm going to turn to the side. I'm going to turn to the side and be next to you. We're joining in this sale, in this service together. It's more intimate and it's less intimidating. And that's just a couple psychology behind sales. Psychology behind sales. That's about it. That's all I'll give you. Yeah. I'm excellent at managing things. I'll tell you some of the things I've been involved in. I've owned 2 sales offices. No, I'm sorry. I own 1 sales office. I own 2 or 3 painting companies. I owned a landscaping business. I owned a window washing business. That was my first company. They've all been taken from me within a couple years because of addiction. Okay, at one point in time, I had 24 people rolling into my office, my sales office, to sell every day. Now it would dwindle down to about 15 consistently, then to 10, just because I was spiraling out of control. At times, I couldn't afford to go get my merch from the dock or whatever, wherever it was coming in. Mainly, it was coming in from China, but at times, I would have to send salesmen home with a $50 bill or whatnot, because I was on drugs. And I had to go peddle merch myself to the gas stations, wholesale, their hats, cotton candy, different items. I had to go peddle to the gas stations to earn money to go get my order. That was thousands of dollars for the salesman to go out and sell. So I was doing those kind of things, paying, what did I say, borrow from Peter to pay Paul or whatever. I was doing that kind of thing. That's it. And I've worked many, many different jobs. Do I want to go back to that kind of thing? No. I meant to work for myself or for somebody, but still have the freedom to manage what I'm doing and, maybe go to them when I'm struggling, them coming to me when I need some work, some teaching. I'm a quick learner, okay, and I'm teachable. People around me might not think that. They might think, oh, he thinks he knows everything. Well, because I'm very well-rounded, because of my life experience. I'm very well-rounded. So when they start to go in a direction, I quickly stop them because they're not right. A lot of the times, I have a better way of handling it. So it's not their fault. It's just like, why waste any time if I'm better at that? And listen to me. She's like, we went to the store last night to get paint and stuff for the thing. And like, the person in my life, they think that they can manage things better than me. They can't. When I'm sober-minded, you know how many times in my life I've been told that I am the biggest waste of talent anybody has ever seen? A lot. And that I was great if I just focused and kept that focus and drove something all the way into the ground, you know? And so I've struggled with that in life. But I'm at an age now where it's do or die. It really is. I don't have much time left. You know, the first part of my life is gone. I can't get it back. If I had been sober and focused and knew things and saw things as I do now, back then, you know, if it was a fifth, we'd all be drunk. But if I had this mind, and back then, I might have accomplished great things already. I've had the opportunity to work with the Special Olympics as a volunteer, but as an event director of any major sporting event that came through this county I'm in, right? They appointed me that as like a 8-9-time felon, shotting on the news, with given my background. They were gonna let me do that. Why? Because I had changed. And God opened that door. I shut it because in between our first meeting and our second meeting, I went out and relapsed like an idiot, right? So I've been chosen for those kind of things. I coached the youth, not for very long. I remember my last experience as a coach. The kids don't know what really happened, but I slipped back into addiction. And as a coach, as a youth coach, I coached the really, really young kids and I coached some junior high kids. I was undefeated. We never lost a game. Never. I talked to the mother of my daughter. She's like, we did lose. I said, I wasn't the coach. You were. And I was an assistant coach. Oh, she was like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, because my daughter played for that team and they lost. But my teams, we lost one game. And guess who wasn't there? Me. The night before, I ran into a girl that wanted to go to rehab. She goes, and we dated. And she said, I'm $50 short, but I need to go get help. She was in the process of losing her kids. She was really close to it. And I said, all right, I got you. I was driving sweeper trucks overnight, sweeping parking lots for a place here. And so she's like, I got to stop and get my clothes at my uncle's. I said, all right. So she's like, well, she goes in, she texts me or something. She goes, you can come in for a minute. It's going to take me a minute. I said, all right. Bad idea. Why? Dope house. We both end up high. I don't go to my last game. I don't give the kids the pizza party. I spend my money for the pizza party. My assistant coach, who was a recovering alcoholic, his daddy played in the NBA for the Knicks back in like the 70s or 80s. Mike was a little bit older than me, but nonetheless, he had a knowledge of basketball. His daddy played in the pros, and Mike was a good basketball player, but he fell into alcoholism while he was sober. It's kind of like the movie Hoosiers, to be honest. Remember the uncle that was drunk that eventually became an assistant coach, and then he relapses back on alcohol? Well, that was Mike, and I was a recovering addict. He was a recovering alcoholic. I remember the first couple practices, Mike was, you could smell alcohol on him, and the kids and the parents could too. So I said, Mike, we were in rehab together. I said, Mike, you gotta stop drinking for the kids. I can't have you. I'll have to fire you. I'm sorry. He goes, all right. He stopped drinking. Well, now he's a loose cannon out there. Now he's mad. Now he's mad at the kids. Now he's no patience with the kids. So I had to tell Mike, go home one practice. I think I told him to go home. Or maybe at the end of the practice, I grabbed him. I was like, Mike, I know you're struggling with this. I know coming off of it can be hell. I said, but you can't act like this with the kids. He said, all right. Well, I called Mike. I said, you got to coach this last game. He goes, I don't know what to do. I said, well, we got two plays that they can't really stop, right? Just run those, all right? And so we did. Well, I had this mother, a single mother, whose kid was on the team. And I had a crush on this mom. I never told her this. And I think she was crushing on me too. It's kind of irrelevant. But we had a text relationship, right? She would text me, how do you think my son's doing? What does he need to work on at home, kind of thing? And I would tell her. And but I was crushing on her at the same time. But I never hit on her because that's a line you don't cross, right? And we were both single, but nonetheless, I didn't cross that line. And so she's texting me during the game. Well, I'm lying, and I really slipped back in addiction, but I couldn't show up. I felt like a piece of crap. And I had to live with that. I had to live with seeing the kids in the community with them thinking that I got that an accident had taken place when it was really me slipping back in addiction. And so I had to see the kids that would come running up to me. They would leave their dads, come running up my leg and hugging me and missing me because I coached them. And we had a great bond. And so that was hard. That was hard. And so that was the only game we lost. I wasn't present. But it went to triple overtime. And the mom is texting me. And she's saying, she's like, oh my God, it's going to overtime. You won't believe it. Somebody hit some free throws or made a steal. I don't remember what happened. And she's like, you won't believe this. It's second overtime. I'm like, what? Right? And she's like, you won't believe this is third overtime. And then she's like, we lost by 1 point. Miss Free. I don't even remember what happened. I don't want to speculate. But yeah. And that was my experience as a coach. And like, I go to my daughter's games now. I see the high school coaching, and like, it kills me that I didn't stay on that path, because of what I have to offer young people. Just a story. There's a lot of stories like mine, but the things that God has allowed me to retain in my mind, I know my purpose is to help people. It's all of ours, really. But mine specifically is addiction and the knowledge of recovery, how to put together something and keep it together, manage it, and enthusiasm, encouragement, motivation. I'm very good at that. Maybe not with myself. I often need a group there that brings me joy, a group to teach, a group to learn from as well. That's something I seek. I love to have. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'll see you guys. Love you guys. 38 minutes, 0123.